Hello, America. JOC here with your daily dose of headline mayhem on Ranting Politics headline updates. We've got a scorcher of a lineup today that'll make your head spin faster than a politician's stance on election year. Coming up, we're diving into the ultra-rich of LA dropping $2,000 an hour for their personal firefighting armies while the rest of the city burns. Then we'll break down the Supreme Court's latest TikTok tangle that could send the app into digital exile. Fresh off the press, Special Counsel Jack Smith just handed in his resignation letter. And wait until you hear what Trump had to say about that. Plus, why Greenland's suddenly the hottest piece of real estate in global security circles. And if you thought your favorite NYC steakhouse couldn't get any more expensive, wait until you hear about the new char-broil regulations that have restaurant owners flipping their grills. Stick around, it's going to be a wild ride. In a stark display of wealth inequality, LA's millionaires are now shelling out a jaw-dropping $2,000 per hour for private firefighting crews, while the rest of the city grapples with some of the most devastating wildfires in its history. These premium protection services are showing up with their own water supplies, trucks, and industrial-grade equipment, essentially creating a two-tier emergency response system in one of America's wealthiest zip codes. Chris Dunn, owner of private fire protection company Covered 6, says his phone hasn't stopped ringing as Hollywood elites desperately vie for his services. We're talking about crews working around the clock, spraying fire retardant on million-dollar properties and wrapping trees in fireproof materials, while more than 100,000 regular citizens have been forced to evacuate their homes. The controversy reached a boiling point when millionaire real estate investor Keith Wasserman took to X with what might be the most tone-deaf post of the year. Quote, "Does anyone have access to private firefighters to protect our home in Pacific Palisades? Need to act fast here. All neighbors' houses burning. We'll pay any amount." The backlash was swift and fierce, forcing him to delete the post. But Wasserman isn't alone in this firefighting frenzy. Real estate mogul Rick Caruso also faced intense criticism after the New York Times revealed he'd hired private crews to protect his property. As one social media user sarcastically put it, quote, "Wish I had private crews to protect my $2 investment in Brokey. All I got is this broken umbrella and a spray bottle filled with tap water." As reported by the Daily Mail and confirmed by multiple sources, these private firefighting services aren't just protecting individual homes, they're creating a visible divide between those who can afford premium protection and those left relying on the overwhelmed public fire department. While some defend it as free market forces at work, critics argue it's a troubling symptom of our growing wealth gap, playing out in real time against a backdrop of natural disaster. The Supreme Court appears poised to greenlight a nationwide TikTok ban, following more than 2 hours of intense oral arguments that centered largely on national security concerns rather than free speech. The stakes couldn't be higher, with the ban set to take effect January 19th unless the court intervenes. Chief Justice Roberts made it crystal clear that Congress isn't targeting expression. They're zeroing in on what they see as a national security threat. We're talking about a foreign adversary potentially harvesting data from 170 million Americans. And when you put it that way, the First Amendment arguments start looking pretty shaky. Justice Kavanaugh really drove this point home, highlighting concerns about China potentially using TikTok's massive data collection to turn future FBI, CIA, and State Department employees. The platform's extensive information about American teenagers and young adults could become a powerful tool for blackmail and espionage down the line. TikTok's legal team tried to downplay these concerns as purely speculative, even suggesting they'd be fine with warning labels about potential Chinese manipulation. But that argument didn't seem to gain much traction with most justices, though Neil Gorsuch and Elena Kagan did raise some eyebrows about the precedent this could set for other foreign-owned media platforms. Unless the Supreme Court steps in, TikTok's attorneys say the app will effectively go dark on January 19th. That means no new downloads from app stores, and existing users will gradually lose functionality as updates become impossible. However, there's an interesting wrinkle here. The incoming Trump administration has indicated they want to save TikTok, and the law gives the president considerable flexibility in enforcement. This sets up a fascinating scenario where even if the court upholds the ban, Trump's return to office could dramatically change TikTok's fate. But as Justice Sotomayor pointedly warned, any company choosing to ignore the law based on unofficial assurances would be taking an enormous risk. Special Counsel Jack Smith has officially handed in his resignation from the Department of Justice, marking the end of his role overseeing the high-profile Trump investigations. Smith delivered his final 2-volume report to Attorney General Merrick Garland just days before stepping down, setting the stage for what could be a crucial window of transparency before the upcoming administration change. Garland's already signaled he won't make public the portion of the report dealing with classified documents, but he's pushing for eventual disclosure and has offered congressional committee leaders confidential access to that section. Meanwhile, we're seeing an intense legal battle play out over whether the report's other findings can be released at all. The timing here is critical, folks. With Trump's inauguration approaching on January 20th and his plans to install members of his defense team in top Justice Department positions, we're looking at a rapidly closing window for any public disclosure. An appeals court just shot down Trump's attempt to keep the report under wraps, but Judge Aileen Cannon's temporary hold is still in place until Sunday evening. Smith's departure isn't exactly shocking. His office has been winding down for weeks after dismissing the federal cases against Trump due to his return to the presidency. But the real story here is what happens next. The DOJ is racing against the clock, potentially able to release the first volume as soon as Sunday or Monday, assuming they can clear the remaining legal hurdles. Trump's already celebrating Smith's exit on Truth Social, calling him a disgrace and claiming he accomplished nothing. But with congressional investigations into the special counsel probes on the horizon and potential Freedom of Information Act battles looming, this story's far from over. The report could end up being Smith's final word on these investigations, assuming it ever sees the light of day. In a fascinating development that's raising eyebrows across Washington, President-elect Trump's interest in Greenland has found some serious backing from former NATO Supreme Allied Commander James Stavridis. Despite the initial skepticism and mockery from critics, Stavridis is calling this strategic Arctic powerhouse a, quote, strategic gold mine for the United States. Let's break down why this matters. Sitting at the top of the North Atlantic, Greenland's not just a massive ice cube. It's packed with rare earth minerals, likely vast gold deposits, and holds crucial strategic value for protecting approaches to American shores. As Stavridis puts it, this isn't some crazy scheme, it's a serious geopolitical opportunity to outmaneuver both Russia and China in the region. But here's where it gets interesting. While Greenland's Premier Moot Egede is making it clear they're not interested in becoming America's newest acquisition, saying, quote, Greenland is for the Greenlandic people, he's left the door open for business talks. His exact words were that while we are not for sale, we are open for business. And he's even indicated he's ready to sit down with Trump to discuss potential deals. The Greenlanders are charting their own course here, pushing for independence rather than choosing between American or Danish oversight. As Egede firmly stated, we do not want to be Danish, we do not want to be American, we want to be Greenlandic. It's a delicate diplomatic dance that could reshape Arctic politics for decades to come. New York City's restaurant scene is facing some serious heat, and it's not coming from their kitchens. The Department of Environmental Protection has just dropped a bombshell proposal that would force restaurants using char-broilers to slash their smoky emissions by a whopping 75%. We're talking about any establishment grilling more than 875 pounds of meat weekly needing to install costly emission control devices or completely change how they cook their food. Junior's restaurant owner, Alan Rosen, who's been flame grilling at 3 iconic locations across Manhattan and Brooklyn, isn't mincing words. Quote, people are getting knifed in the subway and they're worried about char-broilers. His frustration echoes across the industry, with estimates suggesting around 200 restaurants could be affected by these new regulations. The numbers behind this are pretty striking. According to UC Riverside Research, a commercially cooked hamburger actually pumps out more air pollution than a diesel truck driving 140 miles on the highway. City data shows these commercial char-broilers are responsible for about 4,000 tons of particulate matter annually, with health officials claiming these emissions contribute to over 12% of particulate matter-related premature deaths each year. But restaurant owners aren't buying it. As Rosen puts it, quote, this whole thing is a nothing burger, pun intended. The New York City Hospitality Alliance is calling for the city to put their money where their mouth is and help fund these expensive upgrades. With the public hearing set for January 29th and implementation looming 6 months after finalization, the Big Apple's restaurant scene is about to get a whole lot smokier, and not in the way they'd prefer. Source, The New York Post. And that wraps up another packed episode of Ranting Politics Headline Updates. From LA's millionaire firefighter controversy to TikTok's Supreme Court showdown, Jack Smith's departure from the DOJ, Greenland's strategic significance, and New York City's latest battle over burger smoke, it's been quite a day in the world of politics. Stay up to date with all our latest coverage by following us on X at RantingRP. For deeper dives into these stories and exclusive content, head over to rantingpolitics.com. And don't forget, you can also now find us on YouTube and Amazon's Audible app. This is JOC, signing off, and thank you, our loyal listeners, for choosing Ranting Politics Headline Updates. We'll be back soon with the updates you need to navigate these interesting times. Until then, stay tuned, stay informed, and as always, stay free.
Hey, you brilliant inventors and creators. Have you crafted a product that's ready to break out from the digital world and hit the physical shelves? Imagine your creation sitting proudly in stores like Walmart, Target, and Home Depot, where 90% of purchases still happen. Well, it's time to turn that vision into reality with Product Fury. At Product Fury, we specialize in bridging the gap between online innovation and retail giants. In fact, we have secured millions of dollars of royalty deals for dozens of products at big box retail stores. Whether you're selling gadgets, home goods, or anything innovative, we're here to amplify your reach. Don't keep your product confined to the web. Visit www.productfury.ai today to submit your information for a free product evaluation. Let's get your products out of the internet cloud and into customer carts. Remember, that's productfury.ai. Make the leap from clicks to bricks and see your product thrive in the bustling aisles of major retailers. It's your time to shine on the big stage. Visit us now